Hi everyone, Izzy here with a new version of Language Reader, making a new video as well because I don't think my last one turned out so well. So I'm going to demonstrate to you how to install this and how to use it. Um, it's worrying me that I keep getting a little hourglass symbol here on my cursor. I don't know what this machine's doing. But anyway, when you navigate to GitHub and get to the language reader, you land here on this main page. And here I have a folder with a bunch of starter lexicons for you to use. This is your dictionary that will have your uh, different starter dictionaries in here to use. I also have some starter stories in here as well, just to kind of get you going. There is also a README that I'm doing here that can explain things to you as well. You want to come over here to releases and get the latest release, which is this one here. And I'm going to click on that in a moment. First, let's just go back over here. Look at lexicons. If you click on this, you'll see that I've got a bunch of them set up already. They're all in JSON format. You could just download these and start using them, and um, that file will grow as you use them and add words to your lexicon or dictionary. If I go back, here's the stories that are here as well. You're welcome to download any of these as well. I just loaded a few sample starter ones for people to use. And then finally, you can go through this README. The thing I want to point out here is that if you do need a language lexicon that I don't already have, I do have instructions here for how to use my GPT lexicon generator to generate this. You could just go here. For example, if I click on this, it will load my GPT. And it takes it a second. And then all you have to do is type in native, your native language that you want to be using. And then target is the target language that you're studying. So let's say that I wanted to learn French. I haven't done a French one yet, so I could do that. Target French and click enter, and it will generate this starter JSON file for you in here. So you can see here that it says the language that we're learning is French, the native language is English. This is critical that it has this metadata in the JSON file. And then here you can see it has a bunch of just starter words that it did. So I've got bonjour, hello, so forth and so on. Merci, thank you, etc., etc. And I'll demonstrate how this works after we install it. So you can just copy this and paste it into a notepad and just save that. Make sure you save it as .json, JSON, not .txt, um, and uh, and save it to your hard drive, and it will be ready for you to use. All right, if I go back to GitHub, which it's going to take a minute to do apparently. I don't know why this machine's running so slowly. Okay, here we are. So I'm going to click on this latest version 5.10. And you can see here that I've got this WinZip file. So this current version only works on a Windows machine. I am going to work on getting a Mac version as well. But if you click on this and download it, I don't remember if I could just click it or do I click on it to download? Okay, yeah, just click on it and it will download this to your downloads folder. You can click on the folder icon and that will open up a file explorer showing you this file. Boy, this machine is running really slow. Okay, here's language reader 5.10. And then all you got to do is, with that highlighted, click extract all. And you can pick where you want to set that folder to. Hit extract and let it do its thing. Once it's done, we are going to install the language reader on your machine. Okay. Okay, so it extracted everything and it dropped you in that folder. And now it's loading all those extracted files. And you just want to go to language reader. Oh, you want to go to languagereader.exe here. I don't know what this is doing. All right, languagereader.exe, and just double click this. This will install your language reader. Don't have to worry about all this other stuff. This will take a moment, especially with this machine that's running. If you get this protected thing, you can still go over here and say run anyway. And it will take a minute to load. You can see this is kind of a big file. And there we go. We're in the language reader. So it says language reader version 5.10. This is the start page that has the launcher for all the various features that you have. So I'll show each one of these to you individually. So the reader is where you can read stories. So if we click on that, and the first thing you want to do is open your desired lexicon. So if I click open, I can go back to here and pick my English Spanish lexicon. Right here is the one that I'm using. And it will load and it will tell you. You can see I've been using this quite a bit. It's got 11,028 words in it. I've got 4,435 that are known. It's got a bunch of new ones that are probably really ones I already know. I've told it to ignore 49 words. I have seen 3,632 words, and I have 75 that I have marked as familiar. It also shows you the file that you loaded just so you can double check. And it will tell you that we are using DeepL for translation, and it's going to do Spanish to English here as well. And so how this works then is I now open a text and I click open here, and I can go to my stories folder, wherever you have it at. And for example, here is an article that I screen scraped off of CNN in Espanol about a new Batman Aztec uh, game or story. I'm trying to remember which. Click open, and here is this article. So you can see here that I have told it to ignore the word Batman, so it's in red. That's because it's not a Spanish word, so I just don't want to, worry about that. You can see here that the word los, uh, I know, so that's in white, so that's a known word. Else worlds is not in my dictionary, and this is not something that's not in Spanish. So what I could do is I could click on that and I could say ignore, and it will make this red, and I can hit close, and now it just added that word to my dictionary and it's marked it as ignore as well. But then I get to a new word that I haven't seen before, like here, and I can click on that. Famosos, I actually know this word, but I'm going to click look up, and this is where it will launch DeepL, and it passes it over. This is why that JSON is so important, is it knows that I'm reading Spanish to English. Oh, and it's not working again. Oh my gosh. So this time it did work. So I thought I had this bug fixed. Maybe it's just the first time through it doesn't give that to you. I don't know if I really want to fight this anymore. Let's see if this continues to work. So here it passed it Spanish and English, and it gave you the this is the word that I said I wanted to look up, and it gave me this word here. So I could click copy, and I can move this kind of over. I like to put this on a separate screen, but since I'm recording here, I want to keep it on the same screen. I can make that a little bit smaller. And then I could just click Control V. And now that there's a definition on a new word, if I click close, it will come up and say, this is marked new, but has a definition. Do you want to move it to seen? I added this in just because uh, I was sometimes forgetting to move it to seen. So if I click OK, it put this to seen. So this means that I've now seen this word. So as I read story after story, at some point I can say, this word has become familiar to me, not just seen. And then after time, I can move it to uh, I know it. So it'll go from yellow to green to white. Let's try another one. Let's see how this works. So editorial, now this one I already had a definition in there, but let's look it up anyway. Okay, so it's passing it over. No thanks. And it's just editorial. So I'm going to click scene and hit close. Let's try another one, Comunista. So I've already got one in there as well, but let's click on this, just make sure this is working correctly. Communist. Okay, it's there. I'm going to mark that one as seen and click close. Um, Now, ooh is not a word I know. It might be a variation of E. It just says you. So this may be a typo or something in the article. So I think I'm going to skip that for now. Just leave it alone. Again, I can mark Superman as ignore in here. Mismos, I don't have in here, but I do know it. I'm going to look it up. And you can see here that it's themselves. So I'm going to copy that and paste it in here. And then now here's where you can set it to whatever you want. It will ask you if you want to move it to scene, but I'm going to move it to familiar. And now you'll see that this is marked green. So any story that I read with this lexicon will color code these words accordingly. That's the idea here of all of this. You can also do phrases. So down here, for example, I just was testing and I highlighted this whole thing. So if I highlight this, and now you have to hit Alt T for a phrase, and it says, how much is it worth? Que tanto vale la pena? Okay. So, and it underlined it in yellow because I have it marked as seen. If I mark it familiar and hit close, you'll see that it's now underlined in green. So this is a way of seeing phrases in your stories as well. And it's saving that phrase to your dictionary with the definition for that phrase. So let me see if I can find another one that maybe we can do here as a phrase. Uh, let's see here. Anything that jumps out to me as a phrase that I could use. And you could literally do anything. So um, doesn't matter. Uh, Here, maybe I'll try this one. Well, actually, let's do this one. Then I'm going to hit Alt T. And so I get this. I'm going to hit lookup. And it means from time to time or every so often. Sometimes DeepL will give you alternatives. You can use whichever ones you want, or you can put both in. So I can do that. I can also go down a line and say every so often if I want to. And then I'm going to mark that scene. So now you can see that phrase is now in my lexicon as seen, and it is there. So anytime I want to check that phrase out, I can do it. Okay. So now you can just read these over and over again. You can read stories over and over again, of course. You can also just open another text, but I'm still using that same lexicon. So here's an AI story that I had my AI create. And if I click that, it's loading that story and it's color coded it according to what's in my dictionary. So you can see here that I told it to ignore the name Julian. I've got some words that I've seen before, but may not necessarily remember them. Here is a word that's familiar to me. And again, you can just click on this, and milagrosa is miraculous. If I wanted to, I could be reading the story and I could go, oh, miraculous, I really know, and I could just move it to known if I want. Or I could say, that really isn't familiar to me anymore, and I can move it back down to seen. And if I do that and hit close, then it color codes that as yellow. So again, you can just read story after story with your lexicon that you have. So this is the language reader. And if you're learning multiple languages, you just have multiple lexicons. I can hit clear text here, clear lexicon, click open. And I could do, like here is native English, target Hebrew. This is a very small dictionary. There's only 12 words in here, so it's just a starter one. I can open up a Hebrew text. And so I've got first few verses of Genesis here. And you can see that it loaded this for me. Oh, except that's not a good one to do. It still has the trope in there. Uh, I think maybe the cleaned up version is in my downloads. Where's my downloads? Okay. Let's see here. I'm sorry this is taking a while. I'll have to do this. Yeah, this is going the old way. All right. I should have a cleaned up version of my Hebrew. And why is it still giving it to me as backwards? I must have done that Hebrew in another, on my other computer, and it's not here. Okay, so I'll just have to go back to my story folder and just live with this one. I can just show you. So again, this just works the same way. So I can look at this, click on it. I can do a lookup. Let's actually see how DeepL is working. Aretz is the land, and there it is, the land. And I can copy that, paste that in here, and mark it as seen, and just work on this just like anything else. And you'll notice it's rendering the Hebrew right to left, which is the correct direction that it goes. And you can do all of the same features here. I actually know Haaretz, so I can click on that. You can see here Elohim, which means God. If I mark that known, it turned all of them white. So all these Elohims turn white in here. Okay, enough of that. So if I go back to start, I also added a dictionary reader here. So this is a way of reviewing your dictionary. I don't know how much we'll use this, but I added it as a feature. You have to open your lexicon again. And I go back to my Spanish one that I'm most familiar with. And I'm going to make this thing full screen. There we go. All right, so now I see all of my words that are in the lexicon down the side, and you can see that it shows you like a little card here that gives you the word or phrase. It shows you the definition that's in the system. So a continuación means next, then, or in the following. This is a phrase, and I've marked it known. If I click on this, I actually get this information over here, and I can click edit and make changes to this. And then it does show you over here just the raw JSON as well. So you can edit these values. Um, just be careful that you keep it in the correct format. And you could do that. You could search for words up here. So I could type in madre, for example, And here I get mother and mother, so it found both of those. I can click on that and see madre. You can go and say, I only want to go through new words, and I have to get rid of madre. So here's all my new words that are in here. You wouldn't normally have this, but this dictionary is a little bit messed up from what I did with it. I need to clean it up. You could say, show me all my familiar words, in here as well. And then again, you can click on any of these and edit them. You can also search and target only and native only. So this just gives you a way of working through these. And so let's take, for example, this one, Acadios, Acadians. If I click edit, you can see here that this is marked familiar. I could move this back to seen and hit save. Or I could come to or I could come down here and say um, people in the Middle East or something like that. And then I can hit save changes, and then that is now in my lexicon that way. So if I go to Akkadi, oh, I moved it to scene, so it went away. So if I go back to scene, Adios, adios. Here we are. You can see that it's now got that extra change and it has been set to a status of seen. So it's just a way to edit the dictionary if you need to tweak things. Okay, going back, we now have familiar word review. So what I like to do is read a bunch of stories, mark words as I move through them. And once I get a good amount of familiar words, I like to go in and just flashcard through them and mark them whether I know them or not. So it's kind of like a final way of doing this. So again, if I go back and open up my big Spanish dictionary, I have 75 words that have been marked familiar. And so here is the first one, tuvieron, had, literally they had. I can keep this as familiar. I can move it to known, or I can move it back to seen if I'm not too familiar with it. So I'm going to move that one to known. And then it gives me pareja. I look at that one, a couple or a pair. I know that one. Brisa, I actually don't know. Breeze or air. So I'm going to move that back to seen. I need to go through that one a bit more. Tetera, I think means fourth. Oh no, it's teapot. Yeah, well, I marked that one familiar and I probably shouldn't have. So I'm going to move it back to scene. So forth and so on. So you can just go through these cards and you can see your pool is dwindling as you move through them. And you can move them uh, however you desire. Frascos, jars, I didn't really know that very well, so I moved it. Mitico is mythical. I know that one, so I'm going to move it to known. Here's a phrase. I think that was the one that I was just showing you a moment ago. How much is it worth? Oh, because I had made it familiar. I'm going to move that back to scene. Pasando, I know this means happening or going, so I'm going to move that to no. Anyway, this is just a way for you to be able to do that. The latest feature I added was the ability to do space repetition either from your target language to native or your native language to target. You could do it either way. So again, if I click on this, I open up my dictionary again, my lexicon, click open, and this gives me flashcards. And how it works is that there are review dates on all of your words and phrases in your lexicon. And if you go to do an SRS, if that due date is today or past, it will show it to you. And then you can look at this, a causa, because, and then I could say, was that hard for me to remember? Was it medium hardness or was it very easy? If I click hard, it will set the review date till tomorrow. If I mark medium, it sets that review date out 7 days. So I'll get to see it again in 7 days. If I mark it easy, it moves it out 30 days. 30 days from now, when I come across this again, if I mark it easy again, it will set it out to a year. A year later, if I mark it easy a third time, it will set it out 100 years and mark it known. So it's basically, you know it, you're never going to get this card flash in front of you again. And of course, at any time you break this easy chain, so if I mark it and it goes out 30 days from now, I have trouble with it, I can mark it medium or hard and move it back into my repetition of my words. So I'm going to mark this one medium, and now that'll come out in 30 days. And you can just kind of continue to go through all of these, and it's only going to give you the ones that are due. You can see I got a lot of them. But if you keep this up, it won't be so large. That's sort of the idea and the goal to do this, is to keep up on this on a regular basis. The whole idea of spaced repetition is so that you're seeing less familiar words more frequently, and therefore you're kind of working it into your mind. You can also run this in the opposite direction. But before I do that, let me go back to the dictionary reader and let's open up the JSON. And which one did I mark as, I think it was a causa, right? Causa. Click on that because, see, these are the dates. So here it says, today was the last day I reviewed this, and the next one is going to be in 7 days. And it has no easy streak. This is how it's keeping track of how many times you click easy. And then this is the reverse review. So the last time I looked at this one was on 10/4, and it's overdue. It was due on 10/11 to do it in the reverse mode. But you can edit these dates. You can go in here and edit these as well, but you can see that it set this out for me to review in 7 days because I had said it was medium. So I just wanted to show you that. Okay. So back here, you go to reverse, and it's the same kind of a thing. You open your lexicon, go down here and pick it, but now it's going to show me because, and I hit reveal a causa, and since I did medium, I'll do medium on that one. So it's given it to me in reverse mode. Abandonment, desertion is abandono. I'll mark that one medium. To board, get in or on is abordar. I'm going to mark that easy. So now I won't see that word for a month. Hug and embrace, abrazo, that's pretty easy as well. Absolute, absoluto, easy as well. So again, you could just work your way through these space repetitions in either direction because it's good to practice being able to recognize it either way. And you could do that. Okay. That, I think, is the whole program as it stands. Have I covered everything? I sometimes forget things and I don't want to, but I think I've covered everything that I wanted to show you. I showed you how to install it, how to run it. Once it's installed, you can just click exit here, but it show up in your set of installed things, and you can even uh, lexicon. Uh, you can even put it. as a, you can um, attach it to your start so that it jumps up pretty fast and easy to get to. Um, so yeah, that's it. If you have any questions or anything, give me a holler. If you start using it and run into problems, God forbid, but let me know. I can try to fix them as well. Okay, well, thanks a lot. Oh, maybe I'll just show you real quick, since I'm here, how you can use your AI to generate stories. So I can come over here to my AI. You can use whatever AI you want. And I could just go in here and I could say, generate a short story in B1 English about, you know, a group of kids talking uh, in the lunchroom at school. And maybe they are talking about, I thought I set that to 3 hours, that to go away, about Star Trek, since I like Star Trek, uh, and hit enter, and this will generate this. And then you can just copy and save this. Oh, I did B1 English, didn't I? Yeah, so if you're learning English, this is the way you could do it. I meant to say B1 Spanish. But you can do anything, not only stories, but I've actually done things like this. Uh, write me a 500-word essay on the history of London in B1 Spanish. And so if you're interested in history or something, you could do sports, whatever you want. And then here you see it's writing this whole story. Londres is London in Spanish. And all I got to do is copy and paste this into Notepad and save it as a text file, and I can read this story. So I can literally just copy this. I can go into, I use Notepad++, which is a free app. I like it better than Notepad. I could just say new, Control V. I need to get rid of this little commentary at the beginning. I'm not sure what this does either. I think this is just some goofiness. And then I need to take it down here and get rid of that. And you can tell it to write longer too. It will run out of steam at some point. You can't tell it to write a whole novel, but it wrote it here for me. I'm going to put it in my stories folder and I'm going to call it History of London in Spanish. And then now, if I go back to my story reader, oh, here it is over here, and run this, I can go to the reader. I can open my lexicon. Oh, I would also recommend that you back up your lexicon on a regular basis. I've got mine set up that it automatically backs up to Google Drive so that I don't ever have my system crash and I lose it. Good idea to always do that. And if I go to stories, here's that History of London Spanish. Click open. It loaded that, and you can see here, I have not encountered London in Spanish in this reader anyway. I've read it before. So I could just go in here and I could just type in London and say I know it. And now it just goes into my dictionary that way. Importantes, I know that one as well, but I'm going to click look up. I'm just kind of curious to see if this is still going to work. Okay, it seemed to behave a little bit better the second time around. Maybe it's just the absolute first time you run it, it kind of has a problem. This is the little bug that I tried to fix that gave me version 5.1. So I'm going to copy that and paste that in there. And I'm going to mark that known as well. I know that word. So now you're reading a new story, and you can see here, like Reino Unido. This is actually United Kingdom. So, London, this says the history of London. London is uh, one of the cities, one of the most oldest and important cities in the world. It is the capital of the United Kingdom and is of the cities most visited by tourists, so forth and so on. So you can see here, I've got things all down to here. Okay, enough of that. Thanks a lot, and we'll hope you enjoy this. I've enjoyed building it, even though I've pulled my beard out a few times, and I'm looking forward to using it more and more. So there you go.